Hey guys, as we wind down tonight, we descend quietly into the medieval underworld, not with stories of dragons or demons, but with something far less dramatic and far more common, the world of bad jobs. We are about to descend, quietly and slowly, into a medieval underworld that few sang about, where ordinary people took on work no one else wished to touch. Not because they were noble, not because they were brave, but because hunger, as it often does, proved persuasive. While dignity remained an option few could afford when bread was missing from the table, you blink awake upon your bed of straw. Something soft and unwelcome shifts beneath your shoulder. It might be a beetle. It might be something worse. You do not check, for there are more pressing concerns ahead. Today, like so many days before it, you will go to work, and the nature of that work is far from glorious. It will bring you into contact with smells you cannot quite name, with textures you would gladly forget if only you could. The pay will leave you wondering whether the rats beneath the floorboards have struck a better bargain than you. Perhaps you will find yourself pulling dead rats from a sewer, perhaps dead people, or perhaps you will simply find yourself standing in the sewer itself, which in this line of work remains an arrangement that is more common than you would like. You might be a gong farmer, a rat catcher, a collector of leeches, or if fortune has frowned upon you today, an assistant to one of these esteemed professionals. In any case, you are essential now. Yet no one will choose to sit beside you at dinner. No amount of soap, which you cannot afford, will rescue you from the scent that will follow. And before we ease into this quiet descent, you may choose to leave a small sign of approval for the story, or perhaps a few words below to tell us where you are listening from and what hour it finds you. It remains a quiet comfort to know that even as we settle into such strange histories, voices are tuning in from corners both near and far. Now, dim the lights if you have not already done so. You might turn on a fan, for that steady hum in the background which helps the mind drift. And together, we will begin a story of work done in the shadows, of lives often unnamed, of tasks that deserved hazard pay yet came without it. And as for who took on these roles, it was never the king. And tonight, you are the one who must step into that world and carry the burden once more. Chapter 1. The Gong Farmer, Medieval Toilet Diver. You blink awake before the first light of dawn reaches the streets. And no, that is not meant to sound poetic. It simply means you have overslept again, though only by a little. Because this morning, like every morning, you will be a gong farmer, a title that sounds quaint enough, though it serves only to disguise a very modern and very unpleasant task. You are, in truth, a professional remover of human waste. And no, this is not the occupation you dreamt of in childhood. No one does. But life has its ways of handing out opportunities you never asked for. In your case, it handed you a shovel, along with a job whose fragrance will cling to you through the day and follow you even into your dreams. You rise from bed, the straw beneath you shifting and rustling softly. There is no need to change clothes. What you are wearing now is your work attire, as it has been for the past month. The scent that comes with it is not worth discussing. You think briefly of breakfast, but then think again, for eating would serve no purpose today. Everything will soon try to escape in the opposite direction. You wisely skip breakfast. You pull on your boots, which are caked with substances you stopped trying to identify a week ago. You collect your tools, a long-handled shovel, a bucket, and most importantly, a cloth to tie around your nose. You know perfectly well this gesture is a hollow one. No cloth can hope to fight what lies ahead. You step into the street while the morning air still holds a hint of cold, though it will not stay that way for long. The streets are empty now, save for a few drunks still collapsed by the roadside. You envy them, in a quiet way. They will wake with nothing more than a headache. You will wake inside a cesspit, because in these cities of stone and timber, public sanitation is little more than a forgotten hope. People empty their chamber pots straight into the gutters. Privy pits overflowed long ago. Someone must clear it all before it spills into the streets. That someone is you? You are essential, but no one wishes to be reminded of it. You arrive at your first sight, the privy of a wealthy merchant. His house gleams with polished stone and fine wood. His wife wears silk brought from distant lands. And in the shaded corner of the yard, There stands a simple wooden seat over a hole that holds the family's oldest and least spoken history. You lift the lid and the stench rises to meet you, as steady and as certain as guilt unspoken. Your eyes burn. Your stomach turns. You try breathing through your mouth, which proves to be a mistake. You pause, take in a breath, or something close to it, and then you look down. Below lies a pool, thick and still, in shades of brown, moss green, and a glossy black you would prefer not to describe. Its surface bubbles in a slow and sinister rhythm. Your task is simple enough. You must clear it out. You lower the shovel into the pit, and the sound that follows is like the earth itself offering a weary sigh. You haul the first load upward, thick ribbons trailing behind. You tip them into the bucket. Then you repeat the motion. And again. Each scoop grows heavier. Each breath becomes a quiet test of your will. You hum a small tune beneath your breath. It does not help. Still, it passes the time. You tell yourself, as you always do, that this was not the life you chose. Halfway through, your shovel strikes something hard. You lift it, and a boot rises from the pit, with a foot still inside. You sigh. Without surprise. It is not the first time, and certainly will not be the last. You set it aside. The city watch will need to be informed. You will need to wash your hands for the rest of your life. If soap were something you could afford, but life is rarely so generous. By mid-morning, the pit is finally clean. You wipe your brow. Though the cloth over your nose has long since surrendered, it now hangs sodden and filthy, and may well be cursed. You load the buckets onto a waiting cart. Their destination lies beyond the city walls. For in medieval agriculture, human waste was never truly waste. It was fertilizer, a circle of life, or of nausea, depending on your view. You pull the cart slowly through the town. Children point and laugh. Women turn away and cover their faces. Men pretend not to see you. You are a necessary evil. And in this moment, you remind yourself that it is at least better than being an unnecessary one. There is a certain satisfaction in that. However small, at the fields, you empty the buckets. Steam rises faintly into the cold morning air. You breathe through your mouth again. Another mistake. You rake the waste into the soil. In time, barley will grow here. You think to yourself, you are welcome. Now the sun rides high above the streets. 3 more pits await you before the day is done. Each one will greet you with its own private symphony of stench. Each one will remind you why this job is so rarely envied. And each one will earn you a few meager coins. Not enough for new boots. Perhaps not even enough for bread. But enough to keep you alive. And in this age, simply surviving is already a kind of success. Just remember, do not sneeze. As evening falls, you return home. You strip your clothing at the door. Your wife leaves the garments outside. She is wise. You bathe. The water turns black almost at once. You stop before the water runs out, or before your skin does. You eat a cold supper. In silence. No one wishes to hear about your day. Tomorrow, you will do it all again, because someone must carry this burden. And tomorrow, you are the one who will carry the shovel once more. Chapter 2. The Rat Catcher. One bite can change your life. You wake early, though not because you wish to. Something scurried across your face in the night. A rat, to be specific, and that is why, today, you will work, not at a job you once imagined for yourself, but at a job that others simply hope someone else will perform. You are a rat catcher, a title that sounds far grander than the task itself. You sit up from your straw pile. Rats scatter beneath your feet. They do not fear you much. They know well enough that no matter how skilled you become, an entire army waits behind them. You consider breakfast, then wisely reconsider. Today, you will eat, though not in the way you would choose. The scent of dead rats, spoiled bait, and old traps will serve as your breakfast. Your lunch, and if fortune is cruel, your dinner as well. You pull on your worn leather coat, its surface marked with scratches and old bite marks. Your gloves, thick but fraying, offer a little protection. You gather your tools. A cloth sack holds iron traps. A burlap sack waits for trophies you would rather not collect. and in your hand, you carry a short stick, studded with nails. Your weapon for the day. Your foes are many, and very toothy. You step into the street while the city still sleeps. But the rats do not sleep. They eat. They breed. And they scurry, filling every forgotten corner. They thrive in the places people neglect. Granaries. Wine cellars. Taverns. Storehouses, and at times, even the kitchens of your neighbors. Your first client today is a tavern owner. He stands outside, scowling as if he has bitten into something bitter. They have shredded his flour sacks again. He tells you. You nod. There is little need for words. You know the truth well enough. Rats prefer flour to people. Flour does not swing a stick. You follow him into the cellar. It is damp and moldy, carrying the sore scent of spoiled ale. And beneath that, a sharper note, one only a professional would recognize. The scent of rat droppings. You raise your lamp. Tiny eyes gleam back at you from the shadows. They watch you closely. You are their greatest threat. But also, in an odd way, an indirect food source. Dead rats do not go to waste among the living. You set your traps in the corners, baited with sheep fat mixed with oats, a delicacy for your adversaries. Then you wait. For in this line of work, patience matters more than skill. A sharp snap breaks the silence. One caught. You move swiftly. It is still struggling. A single strike with your stick ends it. You do not hesitate. To do so would risk your fingers. And the stories are grim. One bite can change your life, and not for the better. You continue, gathering them one by one, by rough count, more than 20. A good morning. You place them into your sack. The stench rises. A companion that will follow you for the rest of the day. No perfume can mask it. Not that you could afford perfume even if you wished to. Lard would be cheaper, but lard would only attract more rats. You leave the tavern. A few passers-by wrinkle their noses. Someone mutters about your line of work. You are accustomed to this. You are necessary, but no one enjoys the reminder. You understand. You feel the same. Your second client is a wealthy widow. Her house harbors sewer rats, large as kittens and far meaner than any small dog. She leads you to the kitchen. You observe the signs, torn grain sacks, node baseboards, scattered droppings. Your experience tells you the nest lies beneath the floor. You pry up the tiles and set traps along the edges. You hope, quietly, that you will not need the stick today, but life rarely grants such kindness. One, the size of your calf, charges straight toward you. You react without thought. One swift strike, a sharp crack. It is done. You exhale, sweat dampening your back. You do not tell the widow that it had just given birth. You know there are 5 or 6 young below. This job will take time. By afternoon, your sack is heavy. You carry to the city's disposal site. The rats will be burned, if there is enough firewood. If not, they will be buried in haste. You receive a few small coins. Not much, but enough to live. Enough to hunt again tomorrow. You return home. Your boots are stained with dried blood. Your gloves are torn a little more. You hang them outside. Stray cats circle nearby. You shake your head. Do not bother. Even they do not want what lies within your sack. You wash your hands. The water runs brownish red. You know well enough that no washing will truly remove the smell. But you wash to remind yourself that you are still human. You eat your dinner. You say nothing of your work. No one wishes to hear it. You do not wish to speak of it. Tomorrow, the rats will still be there, and so will you, because someone must face them. And tomorrow, you are the one who will carry the stick once more. Chapter 3. The Leech Collector. When the job bites you back. You wake to find the sky still heavy with mist. There is a reason you rise early. For if you wait too long, the leeches will already have fed. And without them, you will have no coins with which to buy bread. You are a leech collector, a profession held to be vital within medieval society, though its importance feels rather one-sided. For others, it is essential. For you, it is necessary only in the sense that no work means no food. Doctors prize leeches for their ability to draw blood, believing it will bring balance to the humors of the body. You do not trouble yourself with such beliefs. It is enough that they pay you to collect the creatures, and that the payment comes in coin, not in theories. You step outside your house. The fog drifting through the streets is a welcome sign, for the leeches thrive in moisture, and as you well know, your small earnings depend upon them. You carry a bamboo basket and an earthen jar to hold those you gather. Most important of all, you wear no trousers, for cloth only invites more trouble. Leeches cling to fabric as eagerly as they cling to skin, and they favor both without discrimination. You also bring a dry branch, not to swat them away, but to scratch the inevitable itches that will follow. You already know today will leave you itching from your toes to your neck. You walk toward the southern marshes, a place where the wise choose not to wander. You, however, are not wise, or perhaps it would be fairer to say you no longer have the luxury of wiser choices. The sky remains dim, the surface of the water lies still and flat, like a stained sheet of glass. Beneath it, hundreds of small creatures await your arrival with far more eagerness than you feel in return. You wade in, the water is cold. Though the chill no longer troubles you, you have grown used to it. You stand motionless in the shallows, offering your bare legs as an invitation, a task that remains one of the least pleasant invitations you have ever sent. The first sensation arrives quickly, a faint tug upon your skin. Then another, and another. You feel them latch on, one after the next, until you no longer bother to count. You remain still, knowing from experience that allowing them to feed for a short while will make them easier to remove. To peel them away too soon would be a mistake. You glance down. Your legs now resemble a living buffet. You sigh. Another ordinary day at work. After some minutes have passed, you begin to remove them. Using 2 fingers, you twist gently, pull steadily, and drop each one into the jar. A soft plop follows each motion. You move with care, pull too roughly, and your skin will tear, leaving wounds that bleed far too long for comfort. Leeches may be small, but they are not polite diners. The anticoagulants they release may please physicians, but they please you rather less when it is your own blood being drawn. You continue this process, waiting and collecting, while time slips by unnoticed. An hour passes, and the jar is now half full. Blood trickles steadily down your thighs. You glance at the water and see that many more leeches remain below. But you have gathered enough for today. They pay you by the leech, but you measure the worth of the work by how many dizzy spells you can safely endure. You wade back to shore, legs trembling, red water running down your ankles, not from the number of bites, but because the wounds refuse to close. You dry your legs with an old cloth. It helps little. You already know that tonight will bring a relentless itching. You tie the jar tightly, not because leeches cannot crawl out, but because the thought of finding one upon your skin while you sleep is not a thought you care to entertain. You shoulder the jar and begin the walk back to town. The streets are busy now. You pass through the market. Vegetable sellers step aside as you approach. You do not blame them. You are not fond of your own scent either. You reach the apothecary, where an old physician waits. You set the jar down upon his table. He inspects its contents carefully, counting the leeches one by one. You stand quietly as he works, your legs still bleeding and your stomach empty, hoping that the price has not fallen today. When he is finished, he pays you. The coins you receive will cover a thin soup and perhaps a piece of dry bread. You take them without ceremony, feeling emptier than the jar you carried here. You return home. Your wife glances at your legs and shakes her head without a word. She has grown accustomed to the sight. You wash the bites with cold water. It soothes little. You know the bleeding will continue for days, and the itching will last even longer. You sit to eat. Every small movement sends a dull sting through your body. You say little about your day. People do not wish to hear about leeches. They prefer not to know where they come from. You, of course, know this well. You know it down to each tiny tooth that pierced your skin this morning. Tomorrow, the leeches will be hungry once more. The physicians will still require them, and you will be the one who must return to invite them again, because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who will stand in the water once more. Chapter 4. The Body Snatcher. Tonight, who will return to the surface? You do not wake early, for the hours of your trade do not belong to the day. The sun is of little use to you now. Your work begins only after it has long vanished, leaving the world to the still and patient dark. You are a body snatcher, and though your task sounds grim to some, it is simple in its nature. When a man dies, you unearth him, and what you retrieve, you sell to those who ask no more than that. And why do you do such a thing? The reasons are plain enough. Physicians need bodies to learn their craft. Bones are used to prepare glue and medicines, and at times, the wealthy seek strange diversions that you choose not to understand. You do not ask why. You simply take the coin and do the work. When dusk arrives, you rise from your mat. You chew on a piece of cold bread and wash it down with a thin, tired wine. You do not eat to satisfy hunger, but to lend your body a slight warmth, for you know well that the soil beneath your hands tonight will be colder than any wind. Before leaving, you inspect your tools one by one. A shovel, a length of rope, a coarse burlap cloth to wrap what you recover, a small lantern, faint enough to light only your hands, and no more. For too much light invites eyes you would rather avoid. You dress in dark clothes, not for appearance, but because in certain moments, a man wrapped in shadow may pass unseen. Stepping out into the night, you welcome the thick fog that meets you, for it will grant your work some cover. Fewer eyes will wander the streets tonight. At the cemetery gate, your partner waits as always. You do not work alone. It is not ghosts you fear, it is the guards. Ghosts have never caught you, and you doubt they ever will. But guards, on the other hand, have no such patience, and their mercy is a thing not often seen. The graveyard greets you with a heavy quiet. A few scattered candles flicker before the newer graves, their flames bending softly in the damp air. You pass them without pause, for here there are no greetings, and none expected. You glance at your list in the dim light. Only yesterday, a merchant was laid to rest, buried in haste. Without ceremony, such a grave is more likely to remain undisturbed until you reach it. You find the site soon enough. Flowers remain upright in the soft earth, the soil still pliant beneath your feet. A glance exchanged with your partner is all that is needed. You begin your work. Digging such a grave is not like turning the soil for potatoes, as some might think. You must be swift, yes, but never careless. A heavy stroke can splinter the coffin, and damaged goods command little silver. Your movements remain steady and deliberate, each spadeful of earth lifted in time with your breath, unhurried yet efficient. This is no nervous habit, but the rhythm of long practice. For 4 years now, night after night, you have dug and wrapped and sold, and when fortune allows, you have tried to forget. The hour passes unnoticed, save for the dull sound of metal meeting wood. The coffin lies below. You brush away the remaining earth and tap the lid gently, ensuring it still holds. With practiced care, you ease it open, slow enough to prevent an unwanted break. The faint crack of the parting wood carries through the night, and you freeze, listening. But no footsteps approach. Only the trees whisper faintly in the wind. Now the lid lies open. The scent that escapes cannot be fully captured in words. If one must try, it smells of regret and ash, woven with the deep scent of earth. You do not cover your face. You have learned long ago that breathing through such moments is simply part of the work. The merchant rests within, eyes closed, mouth faintly parted as though bargaining still. You lean in carefully, sliding the burlap beneath the body with deliberate hands. Each movement must be as gentle as a cat's paw, for broken joints mean less silver. The cloth is tied securely. Together, you and your partner lift the body into the waiting basket, covering it without fanfare. The grave must then be filled once more, not out of respect, but out of caution. By dawn, the grounds will be walked and watched. An empty grave would draw more than suspicion. It would draw your name onto a wooden post. And there are few fates worse than that. The task complete, you lift the basket and carry it out into the night. The cold pleases you now, for a body kept cold holds its worth longer. You slip through narrow alleys, taking no step upon the main roads, for you would rather not be asked where you travel at such an hour. You have no answer you care to give. At last you reach the rear of the physician's house. 3 knocks upon the door, a slit open. No words are exchanged. A patch of silver appears through the opening. You deliver your goods in silence. You count the coins quickly. They are sufficient. With a nod, you vanish once more into the dark. At home, the bell strikes 3. You wash your hands, not to make them clean, but because the motion has become a habit you cannot ignore. The last of your wine waits for you. It tastes bitter tonight, though perhaps the bitterness lies more in the memory of coffin wood than in the wine itself. You lie upon your straw mat and close your eyes. Yet rest does not come easily. This work leaves behind one ailment no physician can mend. Nights filled with faces. Even now, behind your closed lids, you see the merchant's face. The faint flicker of candlelight upon the coffin's lid. The soft sound of wood parting beneath your hands. You shift upon the straw. It rustles beneath you. Your wife stirs but says nothing. She knows better than to ask. You do not speak of your work. No one wishes to hear. The living shun knowledge of the dead, and in time, those in your trade learn to do the same for themselves. Sleep comes fitfully. When the wind whistles through the crack beneath your door, you wake with a start, your back damp with cold sweat. You lie still in the dark, eyes open, listening. It is only the wind, not a ghost. Though in your trade, even the wind feels suspect at times, you count your heartbeats slowly, waiting for them to steady. Though they do not, you are used to this. Some nights grant no sleep, and some nights, sleep brings no peace. You do not pretend your work is noble. You do not speak of serving science. You do it because life demands it. And so, you have taught yourself not to notice the stiffened fingers beneath the cloth, nor the hollow gaze of the dead, nor the quiet changes within yourself that come with each passing night. Once, you had thought of leaving this life behind. You imagined a modest stall in the market, selling vegetables, living simply beneath the daylight. But vegetables do not pay in silver. Bodies do. And hunger, as you have learned, respects neither pride nor dreams. You hate this work, but not enough to starve. You turn once more upon your mat, the straw rustling faintly beneath you as the air grows thinner with the promise of dawn. Outside, the sky begins to lose its darkness, paling slowly like old parchment soaked in milk, while the distant sound of roosters calling repeats itself with a wary certainty that no one ever asked for. You remain where you are, not because you wish to rest, but because you are still above the ground. Still breathing, still counted among the living, though at this hour it feels more a technicality than a triumph. And as the cold light begins to slip through the cracks in the wall, you already know what the coming day will demand. Someone, somewhere, will die. And when the ground is opened once more, and a name is added to your list, there may be no one else to answer that call but you, standing again in the dark, holding the same shovel, with the same quiet dread in your chest that never quite goes away, because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who will stand in the water once more. Chapter 5. The mudlark, hands in the sludge, eyes dreaming of gold. You wake, not because you crave the morning, nor because the day holds promise, but because in this line of work, time is a resource quickly squandered. The sky remains dim, its pale light still tangled in the mist. And that suits you well enough, for mudlarking must begin before fresh waste is tossed into the drains and the sewers become unworkable once more. You are a mudlark, and your trade is simple to explain, though few care to hear it. You scavenge beneath the streets. Among the refuse others discard without thought, some of it is lost by accident, some thrown away in carelessness, and some, you suspect, finds its way there with darker purpose. But you do not choose what you retrieve. If it holds value, it is yours to take. If not, well, some buyers are less particular than others. No one praises this work. No one forbids it either, provided you do not block the drains or die quietly in a corner where someone else must fetch you out. You need no training, no fine tools, an old set of clothes, a basket, a hook, and a mind that can bear the stench are all that is required. You leave your house in silence. The streets remain empty but for a few sweepers, their brooms scraping softly against the cobbles. One or two glance your way and nod faintly, recognizing your purpose. They understand well enough that in a few short hours, the drains you seek will become a place no man would willingly enter. You make your way to an old drain behind the market, a place known for the strange bounty it collects. Sometimes a silver spoon finds its way there, sometimes a ring, and on darker days, a finger still wearing one. You do not ask why. You do not judge. If it can be sold, you take it. If not, well, some buyers are more imaginative than others. Without ceremony, you step into the sludge. It clings to your legs, rising quickly past your knees. The smell defies description, a heavy mix of every imaginable filth steeped in still water. You breathe through your mouth, though it brings little relief. Holding your breath is a luxury you cannot afford for long. With slow movements, you sink your hook into the muck, pulling upward in steady strokes. A scrap of cloth surfaces first, too worn to be of use. You toss it aside. Another pull brings a broken bottle cap. Again, discarded. This is the nature of your trade. It is not luck you rely upon, but patience. At times, the hook is not enough. You kneel, hands sinking deeper into the sludge, fingers searching for what cannot be caught. You do not let your mind linger on what you touch. Instead, your fingers learn to know by feel alone the cold firmness of metal, the yielding softness of cloth, the brittle snap of old bone. Once, you found a gold coin this way. Only once, in 3 long years. You keep it still at home, more as a charm than a treasure. Today, you expect no such fortune. Enough to buy bread and lard will suffice. Tomorrow, as always, will bring its own concerns. Your search yields a silver brooch, chipped but still worthy of a buyer. You wipe it clean against your sleeve and place it carefully into your pouch. A brass thimble follows, then a length of corroded chain. You allow yourself a small smirk. It will cover your next meal, perhaps even a cup of wine this evening, should fortune be kind. Suddenly, the hook catches on something heavier. You draw a breath and pull hard, bringing forth a rotting wooden box, its lock long since rusted shut. You pry it open with the practiced caution of someone who knows that surprises in the sewer are not always welcome. Inside, you find a few coins and a small dagger, tarnished but still of use. The smith will gladly take it. You pocket your find and move on, aware that time is growing short and fresh refuse will soon pour into the drain. You dig deeper now, wrists buried in the cold muck, skin already numb beneath its grip. You are used to this sensation. There are days when you return home unable to feel your fingers, the skin pale and wrinkled like boiled meat. But so long as you can still count your coins, you consider it a fair exchange. Rats are constant companions here. They swim past your legs, brushing against you with wet fur, and on occasion one will bite. When they do, you strike them swiftly with the hook, watching the red spread in the dark sludge. You are not squeamish. You have long since accepted that here, beneath the streets, you are the guest, not the master. As the sky lightens and the market stirs to life above, you gather your finds and climb out of the drain. You are soaked through, cold to the bone, and stinking beyond polite description. You wipe your hands briefly against the stone. Though it does little good, a glance into your pouch reveals your spoil's silver brooch. Dagger, coins, chain, not a fortune. But enough. You will sell them at a stall near the street's end, a place where no one asks how your goods were found, and you do not volunteer the tale. It is easier for all to imagine that such treasures were lost in the river, not dredged from the city's veins. At the shop, the owner inspects your wares with a practiced eye. You haggle little. Today, money is money. A few coins pass into your hand, enough for bread, a little lard, perhaps that promised cup of wine. You allow yourself another small smirk. It has been a good day. At home, you soak your hands in cold water, watching the cracked skin sting beneath its surface. Your wife sighs when she sees them but says nothing. She, too, is accustomed to the cost of your trade. You eat your bread without complaint and sip your wine slowly, for taste matters little after such a morning. You know that tomorrow you will return to the drain, as you always do, for someone must. Later, you lie upon your mat, hands aching, fingers numb, the torn nail of your thumb still bleeding faintly. You do not dwell on it, not from bravery, but because there is no use in doing so. Above you, A new crack has appeared in the patched ceiling. Perhaps it will rain. Perhaps water will find its way to where you sleep. It matters little. What lies above your head is not what you fear. You remember other days. A silver watch, once, sold for a fair price. But the infection that followed nearly cost you a finger. The pain lingered for weeks. Another time, a gold ring, enough to feed you for a month. Yet your hands itched raw for days. The unseen filth beneath the surface exacting its own price. You smirk again. Every trade has its cost. Your wife glances at your scarred hands and shakes her head. You say nothing. There is no need. Tomorrow will come. You dust your hands lightly with ash. It will not heal them, but it will ease the feeling of rot. You once heard of a man who died from infection after a single day in the drains. You do not wish to be next, but poverty weakens such wishes faster than rot. You sit quietly, wiping once more the small items you sold today. A habit. A small way to reclaim some sense of control in a life where so little remains certain. Outside, the fog thickens again. You know the drain will be colder tomorrow, the sludge harder, the rats hungrier. You sigh, not from weariness, but because you know this path has no easy escape. Once your hands have learned to read the depths of sludge, once your eyes can read the signs in wastewater as clearly as others read the sky, you are no longer suited for any gentler trade. No merchant seeks a mudlark to sell vegetables. They would fear your smell more than losing their coins. At last, you extinguish the lamp and lie back, your body aching in ways you no longer bother to name. Behind your closed eyes, the images of the day remain the things you found, and those you left behind. You do not dream of gold. You do not dream of riches. You only hope that tomorrow, your body will rise again, strong enough to wade once more into the cold and waiting drain, and that when the sun returns, so too will you, because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who will stand in the water once more. Chapter 6. The Chimney Climber. No one wants the job. No one escapes it. You open your eyes, not because any alarm stirs you, for there is no clock in this place, nor is there need for one. You wake because a sharp kick lands against your side, and a voice you know too well growls above you. Up. Work's waiting. You do not argue. Words bring only more kicks, and bruises are easier to bear than broken ribs. You are a climbing boy, a child made small enough to clean chimneys that no grown man can reach. Chimneys must be swept. And you, for now, fit the space well enough to be sent inside. You pull yourself from the rag that passes for a blanket. The aches in your limbs greet you as they always do. The burns from yesterday's work remain raw, their edges not yet sealed by time. You slip on an old shirt already stiff with soot. No trousers today, cloth snags too easily on the rough bricks, and in narrow spaces, less is safer. You sip cold water to wet your throat. There is no breakfast. Filling your stomach only increases the risk of becoming trapped. You gather your wire brush and a damp cloth to tie across your face. It will not keep the soot out, but it is something to pretend with. You follow your master through the cold streets. Dawn has not yet come, and the air bites with a sharp chill. You shiver, though you know it serves no purpose. The first chimney today belongs to a baker. You have cleaned many such chimneys before and know them well enough to dread them. Bakery chimneys hold the thickest soot, baked hard and clinging. The heat lingers long after the ovens cool. Today will not be kind. You stand before the great oven, eyeing the dark mouth of the chimney that looms above. It is tall and crooked, with old bricks that shift beneath the slightest touch. You remove your shoes. Bare feet grip better when your life depends upon it. Without hesitation, you climb inside. The chimney swallows you in darkness. You can see nothing, only hear the pounding of your own heart and the faint rasp of soot filling your lungs. You begin to inch upward, pressing your back against the cold, blackened bricks. Moving hands and feet with slow precision. Soot coats your face. It stings your eyes, but you dare not wipe them. A slip here means a fall, and broken bones would be a mercy compared to what else might happen. Higher you climb, knees scraping raw against the brick. Your feet lose feeling, cold and bruised. You pause for a breath, a mistake. The soot seizes your lungs, turning your breath to a choking gasp. Your face purples. You fight the urge to cough. In this space, coughing may be the last thing you do. You move onward. The brush in your hand scrapes at a thick blockage where soot has packed itself tight as clay. You work the brush hard, feeling the black rain fall around you. Dust blinds you. You hold your breath. You know from bitter experience that old chimneys can collapse with little warning. You work slowly now, carefully loosening the blockage one layer at a time. When at last the soot gives way, you begin your descent. Though going down is far worse than going up, the soot beneath you turns slick, offering little grip. Your limbs shake with effort and cold. You press yourself tightly against the wall, lowering inch by inch until, with a final desperate pull, you slide free and collapse to the floor below. Your face is black, your throat raw, your lungs thick with ash. The baker drops a few coins into your master's hand. You receive nothing more than a nod and, if fortune favors you, perhaps a scrap of dry bread. You wipe your face and follow your master to the next job. 3 more chimneys await today. You hope for little, only that you do not get stuck, do not fall, and do not feel the sudden heat of a fire not fully extinguished. You once watched another boy become trapped in a chimney like this. It took 3 days before they pulled him free. No one mourned. Your master merely cursed the loss of a worker. At the next house, wealth shines from polished windows, but the chimney is older, its bricks crumbling in places. You climb again. No one asks if you are willing. Each time you enter such a space, you know it may well be your last. You have no choice. And so, you climb. By evening, you return home, your body aching beneath layers of sweat and soot. You undress at the door and wash your hands and feet in cold water. It will not cleanse you. Your skin remains grey. Your nails stay black. You cough, and thick black flame spatters the basin. You are used to it. A day without coughing would feel strange now. You eat hard bread without taste, drink cold water without care, and lie upon your straw, body raw with fatigue. You know this work will not last long. Climbing ruins the lungs, twists the back. Many die young. You tell yourself you will not be next. But hope, in this place, offers little comfort. You close your eyes, not expecting rest, for sleep only comes when exhaustion silences the mind. Tonight, your lungs still fight the soot. Another cough tears through your chest. Your friend nearby smirks. No blood yet. You are still strong. You do not reply. Words waste breath. You lie still beneath the thin cloth, rubbing the fresh burn on your wrist. The second chimney today held heat you had not expected. One careless touch left a long red mark. Your master had no patience for it. Get on with it. No whining. And so you had. You glance about the room where 4 boys share the straw. All blackened. All thin. One older than 10 already stooped from this life. Another, older, coughs without pause. One more lies wrapped in blankets after a fall. Whether he will rise again, none can say. You do not ask. Questions serve no purpose here. Images from the day remain vivid in your mind, narrow chimneys pressing in on every side. Rough bricks tearing skin. Soot choking each breath. Some boys fear the dark because of this work. You understand why. Getting stuck is no idle fear. You saw it once. 3 days trapped. And when they pulled him free, only a blackened corpse remained. You cannot forget. You sigh, knowing tomorrow will bring more of the same. Perhaps an ancient chimney no one has touched in years. Its passage so narrow that only your body will fit. You expect nothing else. Few survive long enough to become an assistant who no longer climbs. Most cough blood first, then they die. You pull the torn cloth tighter across your chest. It offers little warmth, but it shields you from the worst of the cold. You remind yourself to be careful tomorrow, to check for heat, to move slowly on unstable bricks. Yet you know well that once inside, reason fades. When your body tires, when breath grows shallow, instinct alone keeps you alive. You close your eyes once more, the same thought circling in your mind as it always does. Do not get stuck. Do not get stuck. And as sleep creeps in, shallow and restless, the thought follows you down into its depths. Because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 7. The Rope Picker. 1 strand. 1 life. 1 pain. You wake. Your back aches before your eyes even open. And there is no need to look to know why. Today is rope picking day, just as it was yesterday, and as it will be tomorrow. You are an oakum picker, a person whose hours are spent tearing apart old rope. You did not choose this work. You simply reached a point where no other work would choose you. You have no parents to speak of, no home worth the name. What you do have are 2 hands, and these hands, for now, tear rope. You rise from your pile of straw. The night was cold, though not cold enough to kill you. By such measures, you count it a success. You drink a little water to steady your stomach. There is no breakfast. Tearing rope on an empty stomach keeps the hands steadier, or so you tell yourself, because such thoughts distract from the absence of bread. You wrap cloth around your fingers, knowing well it will not prevent the skin from splitting. But doing something, however useless, feels better than doing nothing at all. You walk to the workshop through a morning thick with fog. The birds sing somewhere above the mist, as if greeting a world untouched by such work. You think to yourself that their song greets another day of torn skin, and you do not begrudge them for their ignorance. The workshop awaits low-roofed, damp, dark. Windows would serve no purpose here, for little light can pierce the air inside. What there is plenty of, however, is rope, a mountain of it, stacked and slumped, old and rotting, smelling as though it once served in a pigsty. Though in truth, few would know the difference. You take your place beneath the looming pile. Your task is simple and without end. Tear. Tear again. Tear until you are told to stop. The first rope you grasp bursts with mold, green and red, scattering like tiny fireworks. You sneeze, cough, and continue. No one here concerns themselves with cleanliness. Were they to do so, this place would have closed long ago. Fiber by fiber, you strip the rope. Slowly, steadily, and without pause, for stopping invites the overseer's attention and perhaps a smaller portion of pay. And you need what little pay this place offers, if only to buy stale bread to stave off the worst of hunger. An hour passes, and already your hands begin to numb. 2 hours, and your skin splits anew. You glance at the raw edges, thankful at least that no bone shows through. You bind more cloth around the worst spots and continue. You have learned that this job rewards stubbornness more than speed. Work too quickly and the rope will burn your skin raw. Work too slowly and you will be docked pay. You have settled into the rhythm that lies between these 2 ruinous extremes, fast enough to survive, slow enough to endure. You glance around the room. Every other picker stares fixedly at their own pile. No one speaks. Talking does not tear rope. You remember once, long ago, attempting to smile during the work. The overseer smacked the table hard enough to startle the room. This is not a place for smiling. You have since come to agree. There is little here to smile about. Fiber after fiber, you keep tearing. Occasionally, small maggots wriggle out from between the strands. You do not pause. Maggots are nothing. You have eaten bread with worse in it. A few in the rope mean little. When the break finally comes, you stand, feeling your back crack with a sharpness that is oddly satisfying. You stretch, though the movement sends a bolt of pain racing up to your skull. You sit again. You tear off a piece of hard bread and chew it slowly. Eating too quickly sharpens the pain in ways you do not care to endure. You drink cold water, and then you return to your place. The afternoon drags on with the weight of a stone. There is no clock here to mark the hours. You count instead by the rising burn in your hands and the growing sting in your eyes. For a moment, you think of asking for a day's rest. Then you remember that no work means no food, and the thought fades as quickly as it came. You recall the old woman who fainted here once. They carried her out without a word, and by afternoon, another body had taken her place. You know that one day it will be the same for you. When you can no longer rise, another child will sit where you did. The cycle is well oiled. It needs no encouragement. Evening comes, and you turn in your oakum. The master weighs it, clicks his tongue in disappointment. Too little. You say nothing. What is there to say? Your hands feel as though they belong to someone else. If your mouth still works well enough to take in bread, that is enough. You pocket your small pay. It is enough to live, not enough to hope. You walk home and soak your hands in cold water. The water turns faintly pink. You sigh with quiet relief. At least your hands can still tear rope. You eat a little bread. The taste is gone, but eating is survival, and survival is enough. You lie down, eyes closed, though the fibers of rope still dance behind your lids. You know that tomorrow will repeat this day in every way. You tell yourself, just let me tear one more day. You do not dream of more. In this trade, dreams are a luxury. You pull the cloth over yourself. It offers no warmth, but it helps you forget the ache in your hands. When you cannot see them, you can pretend they do not hurt. For a while. Tonight, as always, they will ache with you. You close your eyes. Your fingers twitch. As they do each night, you are used to it. Once, you asked an old woman, when will they stop twitching? She smiled with dry, cracked lips. When they stop, you will not be able to hold anything anymore. You never asked again. You hear coughing from the corner. A new child, no more than 10, in their first day among the ropes. Hands already cracked. Face pale. You glance at them and shake your head. You were like that once. Now your skin is too worn to turn pale anymore. You wonder if the child will return tomorrow. And then you remind yourself that if not, another will. This work never lacks for hands, only for rope. You shift beneath the cloth. Pain stabs through your chest, likely from the long hours spent crouched. You tell yourself to sit straighter tomorrow, though you know well that hunching tears rope faster. Straight backs earn no bread. You smile to yourself. A small, private joke. No one hears. You do not need them to. You once dreamed of stopping, of a day when your hands no longer ached, of nights without rope in your thoughts. But then you saw the older pick as a woman near 40, her hands frozen into claws, still tearing with what little strength remained. You know now that you will stop only when your hands can no longer tear, not when you wish to. You sigh, not from fatigue, but because you know that tomorrow will bring more of the same. And the next day after that, you expect nothing else. You only hope there will still be rope to tear. No rope means no work. And hunger, you know too well, cuts deeper than torn skin. You close your eyes. The wind through the cracks in the wall ticks softly like a clock. You count its rhythm, though you do not know why. Perhaps because counting means you are awake, and awake means you can still tear rope. You lull yourself towards sleep, whispering the rhythm that guides your days. Tear, pain, turn in, tear, pain, turn in as always, because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 8. The Ash Burner. Breathing dust to survive. You wake, throat raw and dry, as though lined with grit. There is no surprise in this sensation. It is the mark of another day survived by the kiln. You are still breathing. You are still coughing. That is enough. You are an ash burner. Your life is built from smoke and dust, sifted through with wary hands in exchange for coins that come slower than your coughs. Each day you burn. You sift. You count if you can, and you cough through it all. Often, you find yourself doing all of these things at once. You skip breakfast without hesitation. Food swallowed now would only be brought back up later, forced out by the first deep cough of the shift. This small act of efficiency saves both effort and bread. And when you have little of either, such choices are easy to make. You pull on your clothing, selecting a set that appears, at best, a shade lighter than the rest. They are all old. They are all stained beyond redemption. You pick up your basket and step out into the street. No one greets you. They do not need to. The smell of ash surrounds you, drifting ahead to clear your path as surely as if you carried a banner. People step aside in silence, and you do not mind. It makes the walk easier. At the kiln, you light the fire, watching smoke begin its slow ascent. You draw in a breath by instinct and immediately regret the decision. Though there is little else to breathe here. The wood you burn is damp. The bark rots as it smolders. The straw fights the flame, and all of it sends thick smoke curling around you. You cough, harsh and deep, and in that moment, you take comfort in the sound. It means your lungs still function, if only for now. You settle into the rhythm of the work. The ash must be raked, sifted through, packed into sacks, and readied for delivery. You do not ask how long this process will continue, for the answer remains unchanged: it will not end. It will continue until your hands or your breath give out first. Hours pass in slow procession. You pause to wipe your face. Watching the cloth turn grey beneath your fingers, you stare at the stain without surprise. Perhaps tomorrow, you think, there will be no need for face paint should you wish to visit the market. The thought fades quickly. You drink a little water. It burns as it travels down your throat. Another sign of progress you never sought. Now and then, the idea of buying a new scarf to cover your nose surfaces in your mind. You remind yourself that no scarf survives more than a single shift here. The cost is not worth the effort. You remember a man who collapsed mid-shift once. No one asked why. No one needed to. In this place, people die because they cannot afford the rest their bodies demand. To rest is to starve, and so you choose instead to live. If such a word still holds meaning, tomorrow's concerns will come soon enough. When the afternoon arrives, you deliver the filled sacks to the kiln owner. He sighs and shakes his head. Not enough today. You nod. There is nothing to say that would change this, and the breath needed for argument would turn to a cough before the words could form. You save your strength instead. A few coins are handed to you. They are enough to eat. They are not enough to hope. But this is not a trade that welcomes dreamers. Walking home, you cough again, deep and rough. A passerby frowns in your direction, and you smirk without malice. It is good to know you still have enough strength left for small gestures. At home, you wash your face, watching the water darken until it seems more ash than liquid. You are not surprised. You have not been clean for a long time. You examine your hands, cracked and dry, with skin that burns at the faintest touch. There is no ointment to ease this. No one thinks to sell such things to workers like you. The damage is expected, and so it is ignored. You eat your evening bread without tasting it. Ash has long since replaced the flavor of flour in your mouth. You sip water slowly, careful not to provoke another fit of coughing. It is a lesson learned through many painful nights. Later, you lie down, your chest heavy, your breath slow and deliberate. You know well that sleep will not come easily. Coughing will see to that. For a brief moment, you wonder if tomorrow you will wake at all. Then another thought follows: should you not? At least there will be one less mouth to feed. You smile faintly, out of habit, not out of joy. You do not expect to dream. Your only wish is to open your eyes again in the morning. That is enough. You close them now, and as you do, the rhythm of your days echoes softly in your mind. Burn, sift, cough, burn, sift, cough. The perfect loop, the only loop you know. The day continues beneath this rhythm. Today's wood proves damper than usual, thick smoke swirling heavily around your face. You crouch lower, seeking a breath of clearer air, but smoke pools below as well. You stand again, drawing another lungful of smoke into your weary chest. The thought of taking a break flickers through your mind, but it dies quickly. If you stop, no one will sift the ash in your place. You remember your first day here. The words spoken by the boss still sharp in your memory. Burning ash is easy. You sit by the fire. It is warm. And it is warm enough to scar your lungs with every breath. Warm enough to crack your hands until they bleed. But thinking of such things only makes the work harder. You do not think. You work. As the hours drag on, your stance shifts again. Your left hand begins to tremble. Without hesitation, you switch to the right. Its turn will come soon enough. You glance at the stack of sacks waiting to be filled. 3 more remain. Failing to meet the day's quota will mean less pay tomorrow. And less pay is not something you can afford. You push yourself to work faster. The smoke thickens once more, stinging your eyes until the world blurs. The thought of buying a new scarf returns. But you know well enough that you will not. The coins in your pocket will not stretch that far. Once, long ago, you dreamed of leaving this trade behind, of finding work that would not choke you with smoke, but such dreams fade quickly. Once the smell of ash becomes part of your skin, no other place will take you in. You tried once, and the response was clear enough. You reek too much. The customers cannot stand it. You know this well now. The smell is yours to carry. You finish the final sack. Hands trembling, arms heavy with the effort. You lean against the kiln wall, coughing again. This time, the phlegm is tinged faintly pink. You glance at it without alarm, not bright red. Still good. You carry the sacks inside. The owner weighs them, nods once, and offers payment. Enough to eat, not enough to hope. You take the coins without a word and leave. On the way home, you cough once more. People move aside. You do not meet their eyes. There was a time when you had a sweetheart. That was before the kiln. Now the smell follows you everywhere, and no one holds close a person who carries such a scent. Back home, you wash your face again. The skin stings, but you welcome the burn. It reminds you that you are still alive. In the reflection of the water, a grey face stares back at you with bloodshot eyes. You smile faintly. Hello. Still here. You eat your bread, sip your water, and lie down once more. Your chest is heavy. Your eyes burn. You are too tired for further thought. You know the ash will be waiting again tomorrow. You know that some will not return. This trade works that way. When one falls, another steps in. You close your eyes. No dreams. No wishes. Only the hope that you will wake again. You drift towards sleep as the rhythm repeats in your mind. Burn. Sift. Cough. Burn. Sift. Cough. A loop. The only one that matters. The one that always continues. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 9. The Saltpeter Worker. When rotten earth becomes hot commodity, you wake beneath a pale sky that promises a clear day, though it matters little to you. Today, like every day, you will be digging through rotten earth. You are a saltpeter worker. Potassium nitrate, that is what they call it when they want to sound important. The key ingredient in gunpowder. People shoot. People explode. People win. And beneath all of that noise, it begins with you. More precisely, with the filth you are about to handle. The more rotten, the better. You crawl from your straw bed with no thought of breakfast. Eating now only means vomiting later when the stench of shoveling overwhelms you. You pull on an old shirt, wrap a cloth across your nose not to block the smell. Of course, but to pretend there is still some small hope of doing so. You gather your tools, a shovel, a bucket, a sieve. They will serve you well enough today. Outside, the streets are already busy with those heading to the market. You walk in another direction entirely, toward an old cesspit where your work awaits. Everyone has their goals in life. You think, yours simply leads you into a hole. You reach the earth behind an ancient stable. The stench greets you well before you arrive, a warm and honest welcome that leaves no room for doubt. You take one deep breath and immediately regret the choice. There is no better air here. You begin to dig. Saltpeter forms best in soil rich with dung and urine. The older the better, which means you seek out earth no one has dared touch in years. The top layer comes away damp and unpromising. You dig deeper. The middle layer yields at last soft, putrid, and steaming. Perfect. You shovel it carefully into your sieve, filtering out flecks of white that mark the presence of nitrate. Each shovelful releases a stench that climbs eagerly toward your face. You breathe through your mouth, which you know is a mistake, but at times, there is little choice. You work without pause. No one stops to admire the view from a cesspit. They say every job has its charm. You suspect this one's only charm is keeping people at a distance. And for that, at least, you are grateful. Soon, your bucket is half full. Sweat drips from your brow. Your trousers cling unpleasantly with filth. You once thought of wearing better clothes, but you learned quickly that anything brought here ends the day as a memory best forgotten. You no longer bother. You keep digging. One shovelful reveals a rotting rat. You do not flinch. The first time was disgusting. The second time was tiresome. By the 10th, it becomes simply another sign of good nitrate. You carry on. By noon, your fingers have gone numb and your spine aches. You sit briefly and eat a scrap of hard bread. Your hands reek so strongly that the smell clings even to the bread. But you eat it anyway. If it can be swallowed, little else matters. As the afternoon sun warms the soil, more fumes rise. You breathe again and feel no sensation. Perhaps your lungs have adapted. Or perhaps they are half dead. You do not dwell on the answer. Late in the day, the bucket is finally full. You carry it to the processing shed, where the next step awaits, mixing the rotten earth with water, boiling it down, and extracting the precious nitrate. You call this process cooking hell's soup. No one argues. No one dares to taste it. You dump the soil into a great pot and bring it to a boil. Thick smoke rises, stinking of your success. You cough, and beside you, a co-worker coughs harder. You chuckle softly. At least we are alive. You say. You filter the resulting liquid, pouring it carefully into shallow trays where it will crystallize. White salt soon emerges. It looks beautiful, though you know well how deadly that beauty becomes once turned into gunpowder. You do not think about it. They fight. They explode. You only dig the earth. When the day ends, you deliver the salt and collect your pay. It is not much, but better than nothing. You head home, wash your hands, knowing it is pointless. The smell will follow you long past the grave. You have made peace with that. Dinner is simple. Nothing tastes good. It does not need to. You lie down, body aching, eyes burning, and think for a moment about changing jobs. Then you think again, where would you go? Here. A dung digger earns more than the unemployed. You value yourself for that much. At least, you close your eyes, though the sting of smoke behind them makes rest elusive. You open them again, then try once more. You wonder about taking a day off, but the question answers itself: who will feed you if you do? You smirk faintly. This trade teaches its lessons quickly. When faced with smoke or hunger, you learn to breathe the smoke. From next door, a child's cry drifts through the thin wall. A neighbor's voice follows, sharp and tired. Don't go near that one. He stinks. You are not hurt. You are long used to such things. Once, you tried buying bread at the market. The vendor covered her nose before speaking. Better let your wife shop, she said. You left without a word. Since then, your money goes to market alone. You remain with the earth, the shed, the pit, places where your smell is unremarkable. You once believed you might grow used to the smell. But no, some smells never fade. You simply learn to ignore them, as you learn to ignore the looks of others. In time, they stop seeing you altogether, as though you are part of the filth you dig. You turn, every joint creaking in protest. You remember a boy at the shed who once coughed blood. The next day, he was gone. No one asked what had become of him. The work continued. Another stood in his place. You know well enough that should you fail to show tomorrow, someone else will take your place just as easily. You do not dream. Dreaming leaves you more tired. You wish only for one thing: to wake tomorrow, to hold the shovel once more. If not, so be it. Life here remains simple in its own way. You lull yourself towards sleep with the familiar rhythm of your trade. Dig, boil, filter, dig, boil, filter, like a nursery rhyme no one wishes to know. But you know it well. You have no choice. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 10. The Executioner. High pay. No one wants to share a table. You wake, not because anyone calls you, but because today there is work. Your work is not like that of others. You do not plough fields beneath the sun. You do not carry dung from the stables. You do not pick rope until your fingers bleed. You do not dig through rotten earth. You cut off heads. You are an executioner. It is a steady job. Very steady. As long as people do wrong, you will have work. And people. You know them well enough to trust they always will. You sit up. No one says good morning. No one wants to. You live alone, not by choice, but because everyone prefers it that way. You have a cat. It is the only creature that does not shy from the scent of dried blood on your coat. You think to yourself, a cat is better company than neighbors. You smirk. It is a kind of smirk you know well. You put on your work clothes, a long black coat, thick gloves, a hood, if needed, though today there is only one name on the list, and a hood will not be required. You check your sword. The blade must be sharp. If it is not, the day will go badly. You once saw another executioner fail on the first strike. The second blow earned him twice the hate. You carry enough of that already. You will not seek more. You skip breakfast. Executing on a full stomach is unkind to digestion. You tried once? You learned your lesson. You step outside. No one greets you. You expect nothing else. You are the person everyone hopes to forget, until the day they need you most. It is a strange place in society. You reach the square. The scaffold stands ready. A crowd gathers. Larger than you would like. They say executioners earn good money. This is true. But money will not buy you a seat at the tavern. Money will not buy you a friend worth having. You have money. You have a cat. You have no one inviting you to dinner. It is a fair balance. You sharpen your sword one final time. The condemned is brought forward. Trembling. You look upon them without pity. Without hate. Work is work. You once thought of seeking another trade. Then you thought again who would hire you. You already know the answer. You adjust your stance. Raise the sword. Your breath is steady. One clean stroke. The thud of the head falling into the basket follows. The crowd applauds. You think it's strange they clap for a task they will curse the moment they return home. You bow, not from respect, but from formality. You wipe your blade, pack your tools, collect your pay. It is not much, but enough. On the way home, you hear the whispers. Look. The executioner. You do not turn. You are used to it. You think quietly. I do not choose whom to cut. I only cut whom you tell me to. But there is no point in saying it aloud. They would not listen. They never wish to understand, only to watch. At home, you clean the blade, wash your hands, not from guilt, but because dried blood is far harder to scrub later. Your cat watches from the corner. You look at it and think, at least you do not judge. You toss it a piece of dried fish. Take some bread for yourself. The taste is bland. You expect nothing more. You do not drink after an execution. A habit you learned early. You prefer to keep your head clear. Drunken dreams are unkind to men in your line of work. You lie down. The night is still, but your mind is not. The sound of the blade cutting through air remains vivid. Steel meeting flesh. Heads falling. Applause that fades into silence. The sequence plays again and again. You know this is not a dream. It is simply a mind with no off switch. You try to think of other things. The cat. The bread. A sip of wine. None of it helps. The heads still fall. The sword still cuts. You turn on the straw, which creaks beneath you. You sit up. Sip water. Not from thirst. Only to keep your hands occupied. You once tried counting sheep. A mistake. By the seventh sheep, they bore human heads. You stopped. You once tried counting the number of executions you had performed. A worse mistake. Once you know the number, it stays clearer in your mind than you would wish. You stopped. You remember standing at the market once. A child pointed. Mother, that is the man who cuts heads. The mother pulled them away, her gaze full of fear. You thought to yourself, it is true, but demons do not wash the blood from their own blades. You went home that day and scrubbed harder than usual, though by now, you know the smell will not leave you. No water can wash it away. No drink will make you forget. You once had a friend, a blacksmith. He sat with you once at the tavern. Others stared. He stared too. Then he stood and never sat beside you again. You did not blame him. You stopped going to taverns after that. You know how this will end. You will grow old in this small house. No wife. No children. No visitors. You will have a cat. You will have a sword. You will have your work. That is enough. You sigh, not from sadness, but because your lungs need a deeper breath after a day spent holding steel. You tell yourself, if there is work tomorrow, you will work. If not, you will sharpen the blade. In this trade, Rest comes only when there are no heads to cut, or no one left to hire you, or know you. You lie down again and close your eyes. In your mind, the rhythm remains steady. Sharpen, cut, wash. Sharpen, cut, wash. It is not joyful. It is not sorrowful. It simply is. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 11. The dead animal butcher. No one wants to touch. No one wants to look. But it must be done. You wake before the sun. Not from any love of the dawn, but because today there is work. Somewhere nearby, a carcass is waiting. You are a knacker, one who butchers and handles dead animals. Not the fresh, fat ones destined for the market, but those long past the point anyone wishes to touch. Cows dead from disease. Horses with broken legs. Donkeys with shattered necks. Pigs whose cause of death no one cares to explain. You handle them all, because someone must. You rise from your bed. Your house stands alone at the village edge. It was a wise choice. No one wishes to live beside a knacker. You do not mind. You would not want to hear their whispers as you try to sleep. You drink cold water, eat a piece of bread. There is no need to skip meals. Soon enough, you will see things that make your breakfast seem tame. You pull on your work coat, knowing it will be stained by day's end with blood, pus, and other things best left unnamed. You gather your tools, a knife, a saw, a hook called by others the knacker's weapons. You think of them simply as tools for a trade no one else desires. You step outside. People avoid you along the street, and you find this convenient. Fewer greetings to return. You do not resent them. You would not greet yourself either. You arrive at the livestock pen. Yesterday's notice had said, 1 dead cat. How it died, no one explains. You have learned not to ask. A single glance will tell you enough. Inside the stall, the smell greets you like an old friend. Not a welcome friend, but a familiar one. The cow lies bloated, its eyes bulging. Flies did not wait for an invitation. You exhale, not from sorrow, but because holding your breath forever is impossible. You begin the work, cutting through the skin, stripping away rotting meat that holds no place on any butcher as block. You gather what can still serve a purpose: leather for tanning, fat for glue, bones for the glue makers. The rest will be buried far from the village. Far. You work quickly, not from haste, but from the knowledge that the longer you linger, the worse the air will become. You once tried working slowly. 3 days of sickness from the gases that rose taught you never to make that mistake again. You turn the carcass carefully, reaching deep for heart and liver. Some parts remain useful. Some are best not examined. You think as little as possible. This trade teaches you to look without seeing, to hear without remembering, to smell without reacting. You take what can be used. The rest will be hauled away by someone else, not by you. You will not ride beside that load. When the work is done, you wipe your knife, wipe your hands, though you know it is pointless. The smell clings to your skin like a debt that cannot be paid. You collect your pay. It is not much, but it is enough. You remember the days when you worked for free, simply because no one else would take the job. Better now to be paid a little than to leave a rotting beast in the village square. You take the long way home, avoiding the main street. No one likes seeing a knacker after his work. You do not like seeing their faces when they see you. Back at home, you wash your hands. The water turns black. As expected, you wash your face, knowing it will not remove the smell, but doing it anyway, because habit is hard to unlearn. You eat your meal with a numb nose and numb mouth. You chew because life requires it. You once considered changing trades. Then you thought again who would hire a knacker. You cannot paint. You cannot sing. You certainly cannot sell goods. You are skilled at one thing alone, holding a knife and not flinching when the worst spills before you. It is a rare skill, but not one anyone wants sitting beside them at the tavern. You have accepted this. You are alive. You have money. You have a place to sleep. It is more than any of the animals you met today. You lie down, your back burning, your hands still scented. You pull the blanket over you, not for warmth, but to pretend, for a while, that you do not smell. Once, you asked the old man who held this job before you, "When should I stop?" He laughed, dry and hollow. When you can to smell it anymore, that means your lungs are gone. Then, you one tea need to quit. You never asked again. You once tried learning carpentry. They refused. You carve wood well, but your smell drives customers away. You stopped trying. This trade is part of you now. No soap will wash it off. No coin will buy you a seat in the tavern. You return home and eat alone. No one joins you. You do not invite them. You have a sister who used to visit often. Now, she comes rarely. When she does, she sits far away. You understand. You do not resent her. This trade butchers more than carcasses. It butchers relationships, too. You think of the future. What will happen when your hands can no longer hold a knife? You know the answer. No one will hire you for anything else. There will be no pity. No memory. People will remember the heads you cut, the carcasses you processed. But you, they will prefer to forget. You do not mind. You need money. You need to live. That is enough. You turn, hearing a neighbor's cat meow nearby. You smirk softly. At least something still makes a sound when I come home. You close your eyes. No dreams. No hopes. You lull yourself towards sleep with the rhythm that lives in your hands. Cut. Strip. Wash. Cut. Strip. Wash. A sad with no climax? Only a loop, gentle and steady, carrying you down into the night. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 12. The tanner, a permanent smell you cannot escape. You wake while the sky remains dark, not because you enjoy early mornings, but because the stench of urine is already rising from your skin and clothes as you lie beneath your blanket. It is the familiar gift of your trade. You are a tanner. You know well that this smell will never leave you. In time, you simply stop caring. You rise from your straw bed. The blanket reeks as much as anything else, but there is no use discarding it, for nothing better waits to replace it. You live alone, not because you chose it, but because no one in the village cares to sit beside you anymore. You once tried washing more thoroughly, using ash, soap, herbs. The result was always the same. For 3 brief minutes you might smell cleaner, then the stench would return. You dress without ceremony, pulling on old trousers and a frayed shirt. Nothing better belongs in this place. Even silk, after one soak in urine and lime, would become little more than a rag. You tie a cloth around your nose. It will not block the smell, but it shows others that you are not proud of it. Then you pick up your knife, your brush, your bucket of lime, and step outside. No one greets you. You expect nothing. The workshop awaits. Its grey-black walls are damp and bowed, its floor slick with filthy water. Flies drift lazily through the air. Inside, hides hang from every beam. Some stiff, some soft, a few still heavy with fur. You take a kawaii delivered only yesterday, remembering how the delivery man barely paused as he tossed it inside. Few can bear to stand near you for long. You understand. You could not either. When you first began, you begin scraping, dragging your dull knife across the stubborn fur. You scrape until your hands throb. If the fur does not come free, the urine will not soak in properly. You do not think while you work in this trade. Thought only tempts you to leap into the lime vat yourself. When the scraping is done, you lower the hide into a vat of urine. The method sounds absurd, but it works. Urine softens leather, as it always has. You stir the vat, and the rising stench greets you again. You take a shallow breath and instantly regret it. Yet you stir once more, waiting as the hide absorbs what it must. Your gaze falls to your hands. Cracked, yellowed, calloused in strange patches. Tanner's hands are never pretty. Once, you dreamed of soft, clean hands like others possessed. Now, you only hope yours will hold a knife a while longer. The hide, soaked enough, is lifted out and wrung dry. You move it to the lime vat and stir again. The cycle repeats. Soak, lift, wring, scrape, day after day. The same. Around you, others keep their heads down. No one speaks. There is little worth saying. Shall you boast that you smell worse than yesterday? You allow yourself a faint smirk, then return to the rhythm of your hands. At midday, you eat quickly. Cold bread, tainted with the scent of urine that clings to your fingers, fills your mouth. You do not flinch. As long as you can swallow, you are fine. You once considered gloves for eating, then realized the filth outside and the filth within your skin would make little difference. Afternoon stretches on. The hide softens beneath your hands, its color shifting. You trim the edges and hang it to dry, while the smell thickens within the shed. You breathe steadily. It is not enjoyment, it is survival. If you do not breathe, you will vomit. You prefer to keep your lunch. You think briefly of taking a day away from the vats. But where would you go? And who would hire you? You once sought work in a kitchen. The innkeeper stared a moment, then shook her head. You do not smell like someone who should cook. You knew this already. Here, at least, you belong. Here, everyone stinks the same. You work until evening, wring the hide one final time, and hang it again. The pay you collect is small. It allows you to live. Nothing more. You take the long path home, avoiding faces that would wrinkle and turn from you. At home, you wash your face and hands. You know it is pointless, but habit leads you to do it anyway. You eat dinner alone, then lie beneath your reeking blanket. The stench fills your nose, but this is no longer something you notice. You once dreamed of living where the air was clean. Now, even in your dreams, the smell lingers. You lull yourself towards sleep with the familiar rhythm that carries through your days. Scrape, soak, wring. Scrape, soak, wring. It is a sad little song without an ending. You close your eyes. The scent of urine, lime, and rawhide surrounds you. You do not smell it clearly now, not because it is gone, but because your nose gave up long ago. Once, you wondered if it would ever fade. Then you looked at your hands and knew the answer. It will follow you to your grave. You have a cousin who seldom visits now. The last time they entered your house, they wrinkled their nose and asked why you smelled so bad. You did not become angry. You smell worse than they know. You no longer invite anyone. When invited, you decline. No one wishes to break bread beside that smell, nor do you wish to ruin their meal. You once believed love might reach you. A girl once said she liked you. You were glad. The next day, you met her for a walk. As you approached, she stepped back and covered her nose. You work that job. You nodded. She said no more. You never met again. You do not blame her. You only thought, I truly believed I had a chance. You never tried again. Love belongs to those without a stench. You do not stand among them. You once heard of a tanner who tried to join the guards. He believed a uniform might free him from this life. They gave him new clothes, but the old smell remained. After 3 days, he was dismissed. The guards cannot stand your stink. You smirked at the tale. You no longer ask for a new life. You know what you are. You are a tanner. Nothing more. Nothing less. You lie in the dark. Your chest is heavy, your eyes burning, not from sadness, but from lime fumes still clinging to the air around you. You wonder briefly about tomorrow, but you know the answer already. Scrape, soak, wring. Scrape again. Soak again. Wring again. Once, you asked the old man in the workshop, when do we stop? He laughed, dry and toothless. When you can no longer hold a knife, or when you can no longer breathe this smell. You never asked again. You knew he spoke the truth. You sigh softly. The rawhide scent clings to your hair. You once shaved your head to be rid of it. It made no difference. The smell seeps through the scalp itself. You think, perhaps now I am a walking rawhide. You smirk to yourself. No one hears. No one needs to. You turn beneath the blanket. When your eyes close, images of leather strips, scraping knives, and urine vats return unbidden. They cannot be chased away. They are part of you now. You do not dream. You simply hope your hands will still hold a knife tomorrow. You lull yourself once more. Scrape, soak, wring. Scrape, soak, wring. A song without melody, only a smell. You close your eyes. Because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 13. The road mender and toll collector, working in the middle, living on the margins. You wake to the sound of hoofbeats striking the ground outside. Not a pleasant sound to greet the morning. It reminds you that today you must mend the road and collect tolls. You are a toll collector and road mender, trapped in a trade where everyone sees you, but no one cares to speak with you. You once believed this job might bring a little authority, standing in the road, forcing others to stop and pay. You dreamed of holding some power, and in truth, you do hold it, but it is power paid for in bowed heads. Dodging stones and enduring curses. You rise from your straw bed. Your house stands beside the toll booth, built there for convenience, and because no one wishes to have you living in the village itself. You do not resent them. You know well that everyone hates the toll man, especially when the road remains full of potholes and broken stones you can never fully mend. You pull on your old coat, knowing no fine clothing belongs in this work. Even the finest garments would be ruined by evening's mud. You gather your hammer, your shovel, your money box, and take your place upon the road. In the early morning quiet, you seize the chance to fill a few holes. Not because you love the work, but because when the road looks a little better, the curses you hear might sound a little lighter. You shovel stones into the hollows, pack them down, and stand back to look. You know the truth. By afternoon, the carts will grind your work back into rubble. Yet you do it all the same. If you do not, the village steward will scold you tonight. And being scolded in private stings worse than being cursed in the street. When the hour arrives, you stand beside your small booth of old timber. A faded sign leans crookedly above it, bearing the words toll collection. You once thought of fixing it, but fixing a sign will not make you any more welcome here. The first traveler approaches, driving a cart of wine. You raise your hand to stop them. Toll, please. The driver scowls and tosses a few coins your way. This road's a pigsty, and you still charge us? You say nothing. Arguing would serve no purpose. You collect the money, knowing you cannot mend their temper. Once, you thought people might thank you when the road improved. You were wrong. When you mend it, they say, you should have done better. When you do not, they call you a useless layabout. You choose silence. In this trade, silence saves more teeth. At midday, you sit by the roadside and eat dry bread, cold water. You once hoped to dine at the roadside tavern. You tried once. You sat for 5 minutes before the owner came and politely asked you to leave. Customers will not stay if they see you. You understood. You would not wish to dine beside the toll man either. In the afternoon, the traffic thickens. More carts approach. Many refuse to stop. You wave your sign and shout. Some obey. Some race past. You do not give chase. Your life is worth more than a few coins. You tried once. A horse threw you into a ditch. You lay there a day and a half before you could stand again. Since then, those who refuse to pay must face their own fate. Now and then, acquaintances pass along the road. You once hoped they might greet you. They do not. They look at you as they would at any milestone, a thing to pass and forget. You have stopped hoping. Once, you had a sweetheart. That was before this job. After you began, you saw her again. She passed your booth without a glance. You stood silent, and you did not blame her. No one wishes to love the toll man when the road remains rough. You once considered changing trades, seeking work within the village. But people do not forget the man who once blocked their way. No one would hire you now. You understand this well. The path you walk is a one-way road. You will work until you can work no longer, or until someone else comes along who hates this life more than you do. Late in the afternoon, you fill a few more holes. No one notices. No one offers thanks. You expect neither. You work as you must, like a machine. When the day ends, you pack away your sign, count your coins. The sum is small, but enough to live. Living here on the road, not among the people. You return to your booth and wash your face. You know well it will not wash away the looks people give you. You no longer care. You eat your dinner. Cold bread. You once wished for wine, but wine leads to thinking, and thinking brings sorrow. You do not need more sorrow. Later, you lie down. Outside, the road remains full of holes. You know tomorrow you will fill them again. You will be cursed again. You will stand again. Collecting tolls. Once, you dreamed of doing something more respected. Now, you dream only of standing safely in the road without being struck by stones. You lull yourself towards sleep, repeating the rhythm of your work in your mind. Fill. Block. Receive curses. Fill. Block. Receive curses. A song well matched to the wary turning of cart wheels upon the road. You close your eyes, because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 14. The fish-gutting cutter. When the smell of fish becomes part of your soul, you wake before sunrise, not from any love of the sea, nor from fondness for fish, but because if you do not rise early enough, the boats will arrive and you will be left without a knife in hand. You are a fish-gutting cutter, not a chef, not a fisherman. Just the one who stands between boat and market. Your task is simple and endless. Slice, gut, pull out entrails, toss them aside. All day. Without breaks. Without dreams. You rise from your bed, fashioned from an old fishing net. The stench of rotten fish from the night before clings to everything. You feel nothing. You no longer wish to. You pull on your coat, which once was brown. Now, its color is anyone's guess. You check your knife. The blade is sharp enough. That will do. You skip breakfast. Knowing better. Many days. Your co-workers vomit straight into the fish bins because they ate too much. You prefer to lose neither fish nor bread. You walk down to the docks beneath a dim sky. The sea is cold and the wind carries a mixture of fresh fish, old fish, and fish of questionable origin. Boats arrive in steady waves. Fishermen toss crates of fish ashore as though throwing rocks. You catch them without flinching. One crate is filled with herring, mackerel, and a few fish you would rather not name. You take your knife, slice off a head, open a belly, pull out the guts, toss them aside, and you repeat, again and again. You once tried counting how many fish you gutted in a day. When you reached fish number 386, your head ached too much to continue. Since then, you count only whether your hands can still move. A slippery fish escapes your grip and falls to the floor. You bend to retrieve it, eyes stinging as the fishy stench bursts in you. You do not curse. No fish would listen. You once believed you would grow accustomed to the smell. You were wrong. You do not grow used to it. You simply stop caring. Much like you no longer notice whether your coat is wet or dry, because it always carries something blood. Fish water, or perhaps even someone else's tears. Hard to tell. It does not matter. You work until noon. Dry bread is your meal, eaten with unwashed hands. The taste is fishy, but not bland. If you can swallow, that is enough. You once requested more water for washing your hands. The dock owner replied, "Clean hands spoil the fish." You did not argue. You return to gutting. In the afternoon, more fish arrive. Another boat docks, larger this time. The smell grows stronger. You hold your breath for a few seconds, then breathe again. You have no other choice. A large tube, its head thick with parasites, is dumped down in front of you. You slice it open and pull out a tangle of entrails longer than your collar. Still warm. You place them in the bin as if folding a winter blanket. You do not flinch. You are not surprised. Once, you thought this job would be temporary. You imagined a few years of work, saving enough to open a small shop. Then you learned the truth. The pay feeds you, but it does not feed dreams. Dreaming costs more effort than gutting fish. You see young workers arrive. They vomit. They cry. They quit. You do not console them. If they stay, they stay. If not, they leave. Fish guts do not wait for anyone to adjust. You think about your hands. Thumb numb, index finger thick with callus. You remember the day you slipped with the knife and cut your own flesh. There was no pain. You noticed only when the water turned red. You wrapped the wound quickly and kept working. The fish do not care if you bleed. Evening comes, and you pass through the market. Everyone avoids you. You hear the whispers, stench from hell. You think quietly, no, just from the sea. At home, you wash your hands with salt water. They are no cleaner, they only sting more. You feel fine enough. You eat your dinner. Boiled fish. No one invites you. No one sits beside you. Once, you had a sweetheart. She once told you, you always smell. You ask, smell of what? She answered, a smell with no future. You said nothing. She was not wrong. You do have a future. It simply smells of fish. Later, you lie down. Your hands ache. Your chest feels heavy. Your eyes sting from the salt spray of the day. You once hoped you might smell flowers like others do. You tried, but all you could smell was rotting fish. You close your eyes. In your mind, the rhythm plays on. Slice, gut, pull. Slice, gut, pull. You do not dream. You have seen enough already. Because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 15. The Coal Miner. When the night lies underground and the dust lies in your lungs, you wake while the sky remains dark, not because the night has yet to pass, but because today you must go down into the mine again. You are a coal miner. You know well how this day will unfold. You will descend. You will dig. And you will hope to climb back out. Not everyone does, but you do not dwell on that. You still need to breathe. You rise from your wooden board that serves as a bed. The blanket covering you is layered with coal dust. You once tried shaking it out. A mistake. The dust filled the room, and you learned that lesson early. You pull on your old clothes. They were once grey. Now they are the color of coal. You check your oil lamp and light it. The small flame is enough to see your hand. That will suffice. You gather your pickaxe and your shovel. And you carry one more thing you never forget, a fragile hope that today the roof will not collapse. You step outside. No one greets you. Everyone is too occupied with taking in what little clean air the morning offers. You do the same. You draw a deep breath, knowing it might be the last fresh one of the day. You reach the mine entrance, where the men gather in silence. Each one is lost in thoughts of dust, of stone, and of the narrow chance they might not return. You begin your descent. The wooden ladder creaks beneath your weight. You do not look down. Looking would only remind you how deep you are going. You do not need to know. Below, the light is faint. The air is thick, damp, and heavy. You breathe slowly and cough. It is no surprise. You have been coughing for 2 years. You begin to dig. The rock resists you. The harder you dig, the more dust fills the air. No one wears a mask. You tried wrapping cloth around your nose once. You nearly choked. You gave up on that. You dig. You cough. And you dig again. It becomes a short, grim loop. Somewhere nearby, stones fall. Not close, but close enough to remind you of the risk. You exhale with careful relief. No day passes without falling rock. You simply hope the stones fall elsewhere. You remember the miner who was trapped. No one forgets those screams. No one forgets the shaft that remained sealed. You continue. Sweat soaks your back. Coal dust clings to it, forming a thin paste. You know that no amount of washing tonight will remove it. You once tried scrubbing until your skin burned. It was futile. You stopped. You accept this. You are a coal man now. At noon, you eat within the mine, dry bread and cold water. You once enjoyed white bread. Now it turns black within an hour underground. You eat without looking, eating only to live. You glance at your small watch, not to mark the time, but to remind yourself you are still alive at this moment. The afternoon stretches on. Your lamp dims. You change the wick. You cannot change your heart, nor do you try. The pick strikes with less force now. Your arms ache. Your lungs burn. You continue regardless. You once thought you would stop when you grew too tired. But everyone here is tired. You learn to keep going in spite of it. A tapping signals the end of the shift. You exhale again, not because the work is finished, but because the roof did not collapse today. You climb upward. Each rung is a small victory. You reach the surface. Air rushes into your lungs. You cough hard. Your lungs no longer trust clean air. It is a simple irony. You sit quietly beside the others. No one speaks. Each man is busy learning how to breathe again. At home, you wash your face. The water turns black. You look in the mirror. A suit-covered figure stares back. You smirk faintly. Hello. You made it up today. You eat your dinner. It is not tasty, but you do not require taste anymore. You think for a moment. Perhaps you will take tomorrow off. Then you think again, and live on what? You smirk once more. The smile of someone who knows this trade offers no easy escape. Later, you lie down. Your lungs hiss softly. You are not surprised. You close your eyes. In your mind, the rhythm returns. Dig. Cough. Breathe. Dig. Cough. Breathe. It is a short song, one that lulls you towards sleep, or into the next shift. You do not dream. You do not wish. You wish only to climb out again tomorrow, because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 16. The toll gate sewer worker, guarding a type of wealth no one wants to touch. You wake while the wind whistles through the cracks in the door. The sound does not frighten you. What you fear is the rain, and when it rains, the sewer station grows livelier than usual. You are a toll gate sewer worker. The title may sound strange, but in these times, even waste carries value. And where there is value, there will be thieves. And when thieves appear, someone must guard what others will not touch. That someone is you. You rise from your pile of old cloth. The smell clinging to it is not from yesterday. It is from last week. You know this well. Some smells will never wash away. You pull on your old coat. You once tried wearing a better one. After an hour at the station, all coats become the same. You learned this quickly. You drink a small sip of water. You take no breakfast. At the station, surrounded by waste, an empty stomach is wiser than a full one. You take your oil lamp, your ledger, and a short stick, not to strike anyone, but to stir the waste when needed. Then you step outside. People move aside when they see you. You are used to it. You reach the sewer station, where a large pit lies covered by a wooden lid. A toll gate stands beside it. A faded sign reads "Waste toll collected here." No poetry. None is needed. Carts arrive daily, bringing waste from wealthy homes, workshops, and shops to be dumped here. Later, it will be sold to farmers. You once considered finding another trade. Then you understood. No other work will welcome someone already used to this smell. You open the station. The stench greets you like an old friend. You take a short breath, knowing that longer ones are mistakes. You check the ledger. 6 carts arrived yesterday. Today's forecast predicts 8. You settle on your wooden stool beside the pit. There is nothing to read here. No scenery worth seeing when you sit beside a sewer pit. The first cart arrives. The driver covers his nose and tosses coins onto your table. 1 cart, he says. You record the entry and nod. You say nothing. Speaking too much allows the stench to settle deeper into your mouth. You open the gate. The cart dumps its load. You watch closely. Your eyes remain sharp, trained to catch anyone who tries to dispose of something else. You once caught a man trying to dump a dead dog into the pit. You did not ask why. You simply charged an extra fee. Some rules are unwritten. Another cart arrives. The driver is new, pale. You can tell at a glance. His first time. He asks if he must stand so close. You nod. He vomits. You wait. You do not help. You once did the same. Everyone must pass this initiation alone. By noon, the smell has soaked into your skin. You know this without checking. You no longer try to avoid it. You eat your dry bread without washing your hands. Washing would be pointless. The waste is already a familiar companion to your fingers. You once tried eating at the market. They asked you to leave after the second visit. Now you eat beside the station. No one fights you for this spot. A rare perk of the trade. In the afternoon, Light rain begins to fall. You know this will be a special day. Rainwater floods the pit. The waste bubbles. The stench rises in a dark festival. You stir the surface gently to prevent a crust from forming. The stick touches the bottom. Bubbles break the surface. You frown slightly. You once thought of asking for extra pay on rainy days. The station owner only laughed. "The smell is your bonus," he said. You never asked again. There is no bargaining in this job. A passerby once asked if this work is sad. You smiled faintly and replied, "At least the work is steady. Waste never runs out." The passerby fell silent. "So did you?" There is no need for long conversation beside a sewer pit. You once dreamed of changing trades. You tried becoming a blacksmith. The smith refused, saying your smell would mix with the forges, and customers could not bear it. You understood and left. You tried sweeping the market streets. Vendors winced as you swept near their stalls. You stopped. You know your place clearly now. Here. You are the king of a kingdom no one else desires, and that is as much as you can expect. In the evening, you count the coins. It is not much, but the waste will return tomorrow. So will you. You wash your hands quickly, not to clean them. You know better, but the gesture remains a habit. You eat your dinner alone. No one invites you. You do not invite them either. You will not ruin their meal. You lie down with your eyes stinging from the rain. Your nose still filled with the day's stench. You close your eyes. Once, you thought, "One day I will wake and no longer need to guard this pit." Then you thought again, "I will stop when the waste runs out." But when does it ever run out? You smile faintly in the dark, a smile beneath the smell. You lull yourself towards sleep with a familiar rhythm. Guard, record, stir. Guard, record, stir. A steady tune. No orchestra required, just a pit. You close your eyes. Because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 17. The leather dung spreader. The price of a perfectly polished hide. You wake before dawn, not because you love mornings, but because a new batch of hides awaits your treatment. You are a leather dung spreader. No, you did not misread that, in these times, to make leather soft, supple, and beautiful, the tanners rely on a very particular mixture. It consists of animal dung, blended with urine, with a few herbs tossed in to give it what some call a pleasant aroma. It is not pleasant. You know this well, because you are the one who sprays it every single day. You rise from your pile of old cloth. The smell is not from yesterday. It is from years ago. You once tried bathing with herbs, with ash, with lemon water. You learned one simple truth. This smell will not leave. It is a part of you now. You dress in your work clothes. There is no point in seeking style, whether beautiful or ugly. By evening, all garments wear the same shade, the color of dung. You drink a small sip of water. You take no breakfast. Breathing in that mixture on a full stomach is a poor idea. You collect your spray canister, your stirring stick, and an oil lamp. Then you step outside. No one greets you. You expect nothing. You are used to this. You arrive at the tannery. The workers speak little. Everyone knows whose turn it is to spray today. And today, that turn belongs to you. You enter the processing room where rows of cow and goat hides hang stiff and pale. They await your attention. You will soften them. Using the sacred brew of your trade, you begin by stirring the mixture. The stench rises to greet you like an old companion. You do not cover your nose. Such gestures are useless. You breathe evenly. You cough lightly. It makes no difference. You are still breathing. You pour the mixture into the spray canister and begin your work. Each pass must be steady. Not too little, not too much. You once sprayed too little and the leather stayed stiff. The customer complained. You also sprayed too much once. The leather rotted. The customer returned it. You learned quickly. In this job, your hands must be precise. Your nose no longer matters. You spray, layer upon layer, watching the mixture soak into the hides like a slow, dark magic. You once dreamed of finding a cleaner trade, perhaps as a shoemaker. Then you looked at your hands, your clothing, Your scent? You understood. No one would stand beside you for long. You keep spraying. Your arms begin to numb. You switch hands. You do not think much. There is little to think about while spraying dung onto leather all day. At noon, you eat your dry bread beside the dung tank. No one invites you elsewhere. You invite no one. It is not pride. It is simple knowledge. Those who spray dung eat alone. You once tried washing your hands before eating. They still smelled the same. So now, you simply eat. If you can swallow, that is enough. In the afternoon, you return to spraying. The batch is large. You know you will be here late. You think, perhaps I will ask for tomorrow off. Then you think again, and live on what? You smirk faintly, a smile well suited to this trade. From time to time, customers visit to inspect the hides. They stand far away. You stand close. You know well that you are the reason they keep their distance. You do not resent them. You once stood on the outside, looking in. Now, you stand on the inside. Looking out, you notice a young worker beginning his first spray day. His face is pale. He vomits 3 times. You do not laugh. You were the same once? You tell him quietly. Next time, hold your breath while stirring. You spray until nightfall. Your arms ache. Your shoulders grow sore. You once thought of asking for extra pay on big days. The tannery owner only laughed. The smell is your bonus, he said. You did not ask again. You clean the tank and wash the canister. Not clean. Of course. But you do it anyway. A habit. You take the long way home, not wishing to hear people cover their noses once more. At home, you wash your face. The water turns grey. You watch it. Unsurprised. You eat dinner alone. No one knocks to invite you in. You expect no invitations. You think for a moment, how long can I keep doing this? Then you answer yourself, as long as I can breathe and hold the sprayer. You smirk again. The smirk of one who knows this smell will follow you to the grave. Later, you lie down. Your eyes sting, not from emotion, but from a splash from the dung tank this afternoon. You close your eyes. In your mind, a familiar rhythm begins. Stir. Spray. Stir. Spray. It is not a joyful tune, but it is enough to lull you towards sleep. You do not dream. You do not need to. You only hope that tomorrow, you can still spray, because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 18. The Town Pig Keeper. Wherever the pigs go, your smell follows. You wake before the sun rises, not from love of the sea breeze, nor from any fondness for pigs, but because if you do not wake early, the pigs certainly will. You are a swineherd, a town pig keeper. The work may sound simple. In truth, it is a job that leaves others keeping 10 paces from you. People, pigs, flies, and most of all, the smell. You once dreamed of keeping horses. You could not afford them. Cows were too large. And so, pigs remained. They are cheap, easy to raise, and if they die, you can still sell the meat. You sit up from your pile of straw. The pig smell has been part of you for so long that you no longer remember when it began. You put on your old clothes. They were once brown. Now they are roughly the color of mud. You once tried wearing new clothes. It was a mistake. Pigs have no respect for fine fabric. You drink cold water and eat a scrap of bread. There is no need to eat much. You know well that running after pigs all day will burn through whatever you eat. You take your herding stick and lift a pail of slop. Then you step outside. No one greets you. No one dares. And you do not feel like greeting anyone when your scent is enough to send them away. You head to the backyard where the pigs crowd the gate, grunting and snorting with open mouths and bright eyes. You pour slop into the trough. They dive in as if they had starved for weeks. You watch them. You once thought about training your pigs to eat with dignity. Then you understood. City pigs do not know dignity. They eat to live. You raise them to live. Each has its reason. When the feeding is done, you open the gate and lead the pigs into the street. City pigs must roam. They root through rubbish, sniff the air, and cause trouble wherever they go. You are used to the shopkeepers shouting when your pigs knock over baskets of vegetables. You are used to the children chasing the pigs and poking them with sticks. You once chased the children. Now you let them be. You can barely manage your pigs. Managing the children is another matter entirely. You walk through town as the pigs scatter and root. People hold their noses. You do not mind. You cannot smell it anymore. Not because it is not there, but because your nose surrendered long ago. The pigs root through trash piles while you count them silently. 9 pigs. Yesterday there were 10. You do not ask questions. Perhaps one is sleeping. Perhaps someone is cooking it. You smirk faintly. Raising pigs in the city is a game of attrition. You have accepted this. You stand by the roadside while the pigs feast. No one chooses to stand near you. You do not wish to stand near anyone either. You once had a lover. She told you, "You always smell like pigs." You answered, "Because I raise pigs." She did not argue. She simply stopped visiting. You do not blame her. You understand. You no longer seek love. You do not wish for anyone else to endure this smell unless they must. By noon, you heard the pigs back home. The sun is hot. The smell is stronger. You once considered asking the town warden for extra pay. The warden laughed and said, "You should pay me for letting you keep pigs in the streets." You did not argue. You smirked quietly. At home, you bathe the pigs. It is a delightful task. The pigs hate water. You hate bathing them. But if you do not, the smell grows worse. You scrub them with a stiff brush until the water turns black. You are not surprised. You do the work. No one praises you. No one scolds you. The pigs certainly do not thank you. You feed them again and close the gate. Then you prepare your own dinner. You eat alone. No one invites you. No one stops by. You think briefly. Perhaps I should quit. Then you think again. What else would I do? The smell will follow me regardless. You once applied to be a gatekeeper. They refused. If you bring that pig stench to the gate, the guests will run. You understood. You stopped applying. Later, you lie down with your nose full of the scent of slop, pigs, and mud. You do not dream. You dare not. You only hope that tomorrow there will still be 9 pigs. No fewer. Every pig lost is one more piece of your living gone. You lull yourself towards sleep with a familiar rhythm. Lead, root, scrub, lead, root, scrub. It is a simple loop, one no one wishes to enter. You no longer leave it. You close your eyes. Because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 19. The Town Night Watchman. You stay awake, so others can't sleep. You wake after night has already fallen. Not because you love the night, but because you are paid to stay awake. Sleeping brings you no coin. You are a night watchman, a town guard. Once, you thought this job might carry some weight, walking empty streets, holding a lantern and a staff, sometimes whistling. It sounded important. You were wrong. The job is standing in the cold, listening for strange noises, and hoping there is nothing. And usually, there is. You rise from the hard wooden bench inside the guard shack. Damp air seeps through the walls. You pull on your thick coat, not for warmth, but because thin blades do not pierce thick cloth as easily. You learned this after someone tested your coat last year. You drink cold water. You eat nothing. You know well that chasing thieves is no fun on a full stomach. You take your oil lamp, your wooden staff, and a small whistle. It is not for entertainment. You will blow it if you are about to be stabbed. You step out into the street. No one greets you. No one is awake to greet you. You prefer it that way. The fewer people about, the quieter your night. You walk the main street where dim lamps flicker behind shuttered windows. You tap your staff rhythmically, not for amusement. It lets others know that someone is still patrolling. Once, you thought someone might thank you. They do not. Many believe the night watch disturbs their sleep. You do not argue. Keeping your head attached is reward enough. A sharp sound reaches you. You hear glass breaking in a side alley. You move toward it, your lamp casting narrow light. A shadow shifts ahead. You call out. Who is there? The shadow bolts. You give chase. Not too fast, not too slow. You know this is an art. If you chase too fast, they may turn and fight. If you chase too slow, they will vanish. You maintain a steady pace. The thief slips and falls. You raise your staff and command them to drop their weapon. They have none. Only a sack of onions. You sigh. You will not lose sleep over onions. You wave them off. Staying up all night for onions is not worth the effort. You continue your round as the cold seeps deeper through your coat. Wind whistles along the empty streets. You pull your collar higher and tap your staff again. Once, you thought this job might improve your health. In one way, it did. You developed an excellent tolerance for cold and exhaustion. As for health, that remains in question. You pass a wealthy home. Voices argue upstairs. You stand below without interfering. What happens indoors is none of your concern. Outdoors is. You know the unwritten rules, and you follow them. At the market square, the stench of rotten fish and wilted vegetables lingers. You breathe shallowly. Once, you vomited here. Now you do not. You have trained your nose. You once hoped for a peaceful shift. You were mistaken. There is always a drunk, a stranger, a strange sound. You simply hope that none of them are carrying sharp knives. At midnight, you rest beside a lamppost. Your oil lamp burns low. You trim the wick. You once forgot to do this. That night, you nearly got stabbed in the dark. You remember that lesson well. You sip water. A hiss sounds from a nearby alley. You rise and step in. A group of children tumble out laughing. You shout and they scatter. You do not chase. It is not worth it. You jot it down in your log. No serious incident. You write this so often that it feels like a charm to keep you alive. Toward dawn, the cold deepens. You walk a narrow street. Footsteps echo behind you. You slip behind a post and watch. A cloaked figure passes quickly. You follow at a distance. A stranger out at night rarely welcomes questions. You know better. You follow without getting too close. The figure enters a house. You note the address. You do not knock. You were given no order to break in. You prefer to stay alive. As day breaks, you return to the guard shack. Your relief arrives. You nod in greeting. No words are exchanged. Everyone on the night watch knows this well. Come morning, you want sleep, not conversation. You head home while others head to market. You move toward your bed. No one greets you. You expect no greetings. You lie down with your body cold, legs numb, and arms aching. You once thought of changing shifts and working days. But who would hire you now? You are a night watchman, a creature of shadows. You close your eyes. In your head, the familiar rhythm hums softly. Tap. Listen. Right. Tap. Listen. Right. A kind of lullaby. It is enough to ease you into sleep. You do not dream. You only hope that tomorrow you can stay awake once more. You stay awake so others may sleep. Or not. That part is beyond your control. Because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Chapter 20. The Hop Picker. Working for too little, resting for even less. You wake while the morning mist still weighs heavy on the rooftops. Not because you love the countryside, but because today is a hop-picking day. You are a hop picker, a seasonal agricultural labor. In plain terms, you do hard, temporary work. You earn just enough to eat today. Tomorrow holds no guarantees. No one tells you otherwise. Once, you thought this would be easy. Picking flowers beneath blue skies with the scent of hops in the air. You imagined birdsong and gentle work. You were wrong. This work means bending over for 12 hours straight while your back screams in pain. Your hands grow raw and your skin itches from pollen. And by day's end, you earn a few coins. Not enough to buy meat. You sit up from your pile of straw. There is no blanket, no mattress, only an aching back that follows you into every day. You put on your work clothes. They are not fancy. There is no need for them to be. Hops do not care what you wear. You drink cold water. You eat nothing. You know well that a full stomach mixed with sweat and pollen brings only nausea. You take your basket and tie a scarf around your neck, not for fashion. You hope it will keep the pollen from sliding down your shirt. You know it will not. You head toward the fields. The others are already lined up in silence. No one says much. Everyone knows that the more you talk now, the more your back will hurt later. You take your place and begin picking. Each hop flower feels soft and delicate beneath your fingers, but after 500 in one morning, you learn that delicate things can break your back. You once counted for amusement. At flower number 327, the amusement ended. You stopped counting. Hop flowers cling with pollen. Pollen clings to your hands. Your skin itches. You do not scratch. If you scratch, you tear your skin. Torn skin works poorly. You do not wipe your sweat. If you wipe it, it returns faster. You once dreamed of the day you would pick without pain. That day never came. What came instead was picking with pain you simply learned to ignore. At noon, you receive a 10-minute break. You eat a piece of dry bread. You do not wash your hands. The water is scarce, meant for drinking, not for washing. The bread, now dusted with pollen, goes down well enough. You glance at your small watch. You do not check the time to count the hours. You simply measure how long your back will last. In the afternoon, you return to picking. The sun grows stronger. The pollen thickens in the air. You breathe slowly. Once, you thought about learning another trade, but no one hires the seasonal. You have learned that temporary workers carry temporary fates. You bend further. Your back cracks faintly. You recognize the sound. You will hear it many more times before the season ends. A newcomer arrives. A young girl. Her first day picking. Her face is flushed. Her hands already swollen. You do not laugh. You were her once. You offer only a quiet piece of advice. If it itches, do not scratch. It will get worse. You say no more. Everyone learns the rest in their own way. By evening, you count your harvest and receive your pay. A few coins. Enough for vegetables. Not enough for meat. You return to your shelter. You wash your face. The water runs black and carries a faint bitter scent. You are not surprised. You eat your dinner alone. No one invites. No one speaks. Everyone is too tired. You lie down with your back throbbing and your hands burning. You wonder whether you will be able to pick again tomorrow. Then you think again, if I do not, what will I eat? You do not dream. You dare not. You simply hope that tomorrow the sun will not scorch your skin, nor the wind blow too hard, nor the rain fall. But you know the weather does not care what you hope. You close your eyes as the familiar rhythm returns. Pick. H. Earn too little. Pick. H. Earn too little. You exhale. One more day. One more aching back. One more restless night. Because someone must do it. And tomorrow, you are the one who must carry the basket once more. Now, as your hands remain sore, your back lies bent, and your legs hum numb beneath the weight of a long day in the sun. You lie here in a small shelter. Your skin still itches from the pollen that water could not wash away. An empty basket rests beside you. Tomorrow waits with the same old loop. You no longer know what is pollen and what is sweat. You no longer hope for sweet dreams. Tonight, you simply hope to sleep. Nothing more. You hear the wind press gently against the canvas roof. Crickets hum below your straw bed. Your back pulses with pain each time you shift. You breathe slowly. The loop returns once more. Pick. H. Earn too little. Pick. H. Earn too little. And you know, it will repeat tomorrow. You do not hope for a new life. You only hope that your eyes will open in the morning, that you will stand, that you will carry your basket again. You will continue this loop that no one envies, yet someone must follow it. And tonight, you are the one who must carry the basket once more.